Welcome back to another video, and today we've got the Google Pixel 9 Pro. The Pro, as you can see, in the same color as the iPhone 16 Pro that I have. So later on in this video, we're going to compare the two and which one I think is better, because I think this is the most close comparison between iPhone and Android in 2025. And this thing, it's pretty surprising. It's quite good. So let's get right into all the specs, and then we'll talk about all the features and my thoughts and the comparison at the end. Okay, so let's get into the specs of this Pixel 9 Pro. So this one is actually the normal sized Pixel 9 Pro. It is 6.3 inches in screen size, and the bigger one has a 6.8 inch screen. These are LTPO AMOLED screens, so they are very good. They go from 1 to 120 hertz, so you can have that always on display available to you with your background, or you can have it for when you're reading. It's going to conserve a lot of battery life, but when you're gaming, scrolling, it's going to look super smooth. So I really like that aspect of a lot of these newer flagship phones. Very similar also to the iPhone with that variable refresh ProMotion display. In terms of the processor, you have the new Tensor G4 chip from Google and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So that is really where all of the AI work is going to be done, is on that Tensor chip in conjunction with using a lot of RAM. So as you've probably noticed, a lot of the new MacBooks start at 12 gigs of RAM. This is also because of all the AI workload. So you're going to see a lot more phones, laptops, desktops all integrate more RAM standard just to be able to handle all of that power. In terms of any other specs, we have about a 4,700 milliamp hour battery on the regular one, 5060, so 5060 milliamp hours on the Pro XL. Now we also have the 9 Pro Fold, but there are some variations in spec between the Fold and these Pro ones. So I think if you want the most powerful, the most workhorse phone, it would probably be one of the Pro ones. The Pro Fold does miss out on some of the camera features and such, and battery life might not be as good as like something as the Pro XL. Now I have noticed the battery life is kind of not that great. We'll get into that, but right now we're just going to talk about the specs. In terms of anything else, of course, you do get Google Gemini Advanced for a year for free with all of these devices. I wouldn't say that that per se is a spec, but it's definitely part of this phone and a big reason why you might want to purchase it. So some other things about this that you might want to know: storage goes from 128 gigabytes all the way to 1 terabyte. Kind of sad not to see Google starting off with 256 on the Pro models, but as is life. In terms of the cameras, so here you can see the very unique visor that Google always uses for their Pixel devices. It's kind of the design language. It is now separated. It doesn't go all the way edge to edge anymore, but the main camera is 50 megapixels with a 48 megapixel ultra wide and a 48 megapixel telephoto 5x zoom lens. You can record up to 8K video on these devices, and the front camera is actually 42 megapixels. Now, the front camera kind of disappointed me a little bit, but in terms of the rear cameras, you are getting a fantastic set of cameras. It's truly one of the best on the market, and I think the video has really improved. We'll get to that in a bit. But in terms of any other of the specs, you also have a temperature sensor on it, so you can technically take your temperature or see the temperature of different items with this device. That's a very odd feature, but it is a feature nonetheless. And you have an under screen fingerprint scanner, so if I just get here, go like that, we're in. It's really fast, it's really good, but honestly most of the time I'm using the face unlock feature of this device. In terms of weight, it is a bit weighty, but it's a little bit lighter than the iPhone 16 Pro. At least that's the feel in hand that I get. It feels great. It definitely looks very similar to the iPhone with this porcelain color. It also comes in obsidian, which is black, and hazel, a green color, as well as pink. And honestly, the devices, in terms of aesthetics, they look fantastic. You've got these stainless steel borders around it, and you have a glass back that supports fast wireless charging and you get 45-watt fast charging when you plug in using the USB-C on the bottom. You also have stereo speakers and a real SIM tray, not only eSIM, but you can have a physical SIM as well. So if you like to travel and you don't want to purchase eSIMs, you still have that on this device. First, I want to show you the unboxing experience that I had done when I first got this device. So let's go to that. All right, so now that you've gotten that whole unboxing experience, I want to talk a little bit about the performance of the device, and then we're going to get to the cameras and then the comparison with the iPhone 16 Pro. So in terms of performance, the Tensor G4 has been performing pretty well. I wouldn't say I'm astounded by the performance by any means, but opening apps, closing apps, working through different workflows such as, let's say, scrolling through Instagram, using ChatGPT or Gemini, going through emails, things like that. It's pretty quick. I think it's flagship level, of course, but I wouldn't say it's knocking it out of the park like maybe the new Snapdragon 8 Elite chips are doing so in the S25. And that's kind of an interesting thing because right now that the S25 is available, they've discounted these devices $200 and the Z Fold by $300. So I think they're going right for that Samsung territory right there with these devices, even though technically they would more compete with the S25 Ultra. But yeah, performance is really not something I'm going to harp in long on this phone, just because most of these flagships are so good these days and so quick that that's really not a point of contention between either the iPhone 16 Pro, an S24 Ultra, or a Google Pixel 9 Pro. Where you would want to compare more is with the cameras. So something that has been very prevalent since the early, I would say the Pixel 3 was when like we really saw that the cameras were the top notch in the industry. And even going back to something such as a Nexus device, the cameras have always been something that Google has focused on. With this latest 9 Pro XL, that is still the case. So with the 50 megapixel main and the 40 megapixel ultra wide and telephoto, you're going to get fantastic photos in good lighting, in bad lighting. I think Google is really great with their post-processing. It's truly going to be one of the best devices to take photos, right up there with the iPhone 16 Pro, which I think is its closest competition in terms of photo quality. But this one has just as good or better photos, and you have a lot more pro features that you can use in addition to more features using AI and such. And so one of the features that's really cool is that you have this pan photo mode. So like if you're taking a picture of a moving vehicle, everything else is kind of blurred out, but the subject is not blurred out. As well as the new AI features, such as if you have a group photo and you have to have someone take the picture for you, you can still have that person in the picture by simply having that person take one photo. It will then remember where everybody is, not just in a 2D scale, but it also is scanning the environment around you so that it can then place that person accurately into the photo with you after you have taken both photos. So that's a really interesting feature. And with all the Gemini features and the new AI integrations in Google Photos, you have a lot more customizability in the editing process, where you can pretty much describe how you want to edit the photo and it will just do the edits for you instead of you having to fiddle around with it. So for the camera portion of this video, I would say this is probably the best camera you can get on the Android side. In terms of the video side, I think it's also really, really fantastic. As you've probably noticed, I've been showing a few photos and such, but here's like a video as I'm speaking that I took outside, relatively good lighting as the sun was setting, and you can see as you zoom in, it looks really great with the 5x telephoto, as well as the ultra wide. The ultra wide, you can definitely see a bit of degradation, but overall it's quite smooth. It's maybe a little too smooth, because when I zoomed in, it wasn't like in the right spot. It's definitely trying really hard to focus on the zooming aspect and not so much the actual framing of it. And it doesn't show you your framing like an iPhone or a Samsung would. When you zoom in, it shows you the overall framing kind of in a corner and then your actual framing. But it is still really, really good. And like I said, you can film even in 8K. So now let's talk about the Gemini features on this phone, because that was kind of all of the marketing for this device. They didn't really focus much on anything other than that. And so yes, you get 1 year of it, which also gives you 2 terabytes of Google Drive storage. And honestly, it's good. The new models just got released, 2.0, with the different deep research. On 1.5 Pro Deep Research, you have 2.0 Flash, 2.0 Flash with apps, 2.0 Flash reasoning. So you have all of these new models that are pretty good, actually, for most use cases and things that you would need to do. I really like the Deep Research one. But with ChatGPT, the O3 Mini High, O3 Mini, it's kind of like, which one's better and worse? They're all really good, and I still default to just using ChatGPT most of the time, just because I'm used to it and I've used the memory on it. But with the other AI features on this phone, you have a Pixel Studio, which is kind of like Image Playground on iPhone, where it will generate photos based on a text prompt of what you've said. So that's a really cool feature. You can also make stickers using this kind of Image Playground copy. And overall, the Gemini features are integrated all across the phone, from Gmail to Google Drive to just, you hold on the power button and it'll bring up Gemini, and then it can do stuff based on what's on your screen. And it just recently got updated. It looks just like on the new Samsung S24 Ultra, except for they're also integrating Bixby into that. So I think as the year goes on, we're going to see more and more functionality come. It's pretty much on par with anything that you're going to see on the market right now. I wouldn't say it's anything crazy. One of my favorite features that's been available on Pixels for a long time, not related to AI, but where it will identify music playing around you, that's just something I've missed. And so having that again has been really great. And overall, the Gemini features are not a reason to buy the phone, but it is a nice plus, especially if you're not paying right now for a pro version of any of the large language models out there. It's a nice way to get one of them for free for a year, pretty much. Okay, but now I want to take you to New York, and we're going to do the comparison with the iPhone 16 Pro and this device right here. Now that we are in New York City, let's talk about the comparison with the iPhone 16 Pro and the Google Pixel 9 Pro. Now, as you may have noticed, I got both of them in the regular size, not the Pro Max, not the Pro XL, to better compare them. They're even in pretty much the same color. So on that note, let's talk about the design and the build. Well, the iPhone for 2 years now has been going on with the titanium build around the edges and glass on the front and back, whereas Google has chosen to go with stainless steel around the borders. Now, this could go either way. You might prefer the shiny stainless steel, or you might prefer the matte finish of the titanium. Now, I personally prefer the titanium matte finish just because the fingerprints aren't as obvious on that, whereas on the Pixel 9 Pro and Pro XL, you do notice it on the stainless steel, much like older iPhone Pro models. In terms of the back glass, very similar. I would say the only difference is that with the Google Pixel, the back glass color is more close to white, whereas the titanium is more of a kind of natural grayish, there's a bit of gold in there kind of hue, although the iPhone you can get in a white titanium color as well. Overall, build quality feels great on both devices. However, the iPhone does feel just a tad bit heavier, with the bezels being a bit thinner on the screen, but otherwise very similar. I will say also that when you put the phones down on a tabletop, that the Pixel does not rock, whereas the iPhone does, thanks to the visor on the back of the Pixel going across the entire width of the phone. It also has a physical SIM card tray, so it's much easier to swap out SIM cards if that's something that's important to you, whereas the iPhone, at least in the United States, is eSIM only. The Pixel does support eSIM as well as both phones supporting satellite messaging and connectivity, which is something that is here, but also coming more readily available to a lot of T-Mobile customers later in 2025. You can register for that for the free beta. Not sponsored or anything, but just a cool little thing. In terms of now the software, the hardware on the inside, let's go straight to the hardware because that'll kind of play into the software. It has, I believe, 12 gigs and 16 gigs of RAM if you go with like the 1 terabyte model. But in any case, these devices are very well performing. They are at their peak right now. I think in terms of performance benchmarks, it's hard to compare because one is running iOS and one is running Android. But this is the most powerful iPhone you can get. It will run everything with ease. And over my time period owning this phone, I've only experienced issues with my previous version of this phone. As you may know, I'm on my third one right now. We'll get into that a little bit later. But when running the software nowadays with iOS 18.3.1, yes, I think that's the one we're on right now, it runs great. Not really having any issues, no more crashing, really resolved a lot of the slowness in the device. And comparing that to the Pixel, I think the Pixel just out the box in general use has been super smooth, super zippy in terms of using the pretty much bone stock Android software on there. And it just looks really good, really crisp. And I really missed using a Pixel device. In terms of the actual AI features and everything that goes into that, we're both really heavily focused on them on the iPhone side and the Pixel side, but kind of different approaches. Whereas Google is using their internal Gemini that they're developing, and Apple is kind of piggybacking off of OpenAI's ChatGPT while also developing internally kind of a smaller language model until they can develop their large language model for themselves. And so there are two different approaches, but I think one of them works a lot better than the other, and that would be the Pixel. Gemini is a lot more advanced. You get a year of Gemini Advanced for free with every Pixel Pro purchase. So that would go for Pro, Pro XL, and Pro Fold. And the iPhone's native AI features are good, but they're not at the level of Google's. Google has been working on it for much longer. And with iPhone having to rely heavily on ChatGPT for any more complicated tasks, we have yet to see with the new Siri that supposedly will come with iOS 18.4 and more kind of agent type of processes where it can reach into apps and do things for you that are more complicated than what you can really do now by making calendar appointments, texting people and such. When we see that, we'll have to revisit. I'll do another video. But for right now, where we are in winter/early spring of 2025, Google definitely wins on the AA front. A lot of them share very similar features, such as Magic Eraser, where you can remove things from photos. They both have the ability to type or speak to their assistants, be it Gemini or Siri, and get more long-form results. You can use them both for writing and composition in emails, notes, etc., transcribing things in voice memos. But Google has just integrated a lot more where it can, call businesses, make you appointments. It can listen into voicemails. Well, I guess the iPhone can do that too and transcribe them for you. There's just more use cases on the Google side. One very interesting feature was with the camera where you can, I think I actually explained this a little bit earlier, but to reiterate, this one is definitely an AI feature where you can have yourself in the picture even if you took the picture. So that's something that iPhone has not done. And really, the iPhone, in terms of the camera, hasn't really done a lot with AI. You have the photographic styles, but I wouldn't really consider that much of the AI that everyone is focused on. In terms of overall, which one is better, I think these are the two closest devices in both of their respective ecosystems to compare. The iPhone being, well, at least the Pro model, being the best, the latest, and the most complete device on the Apple side, and where you would really start your ecosystem from on the Apple side. And the Google Pixel really being the iPhone of Android, being the most simple, but also the cutting edge of the Android side without the bloat that other manufacturers might put on it. It has the most elegant design, I would say. It has the most mature feel compared to other devices. You might argue maybe the Samsungs are at that point too, but they also have quite a close partnership with Google at this point. And so I think if you want the most raw experience of Android, an elegant device, something that will just get the job done, have very useful AI features, the Google Pixel 9 XL, Pro, and Pro Fold are definitely the way to go. But if you're really dead set on getting an iPhone, I would say that the only choice really is the iPhone 16 Pro. But this year, more than ever, having done extensive videos on the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, and now the the Google Pixel 9 Pro, and hopefully one day the Pro Fold, it's really become so close, and I think that the Android side is looking better than ever. I used to be on that side, I switched to iPhone, and now I really want to switch back because they are just so good, so reliable, whereas the iPhone this year has not been very reliable. It's usually the device you go to for reliability and security, whereas I think on the Android side, there has been a lot of catching up that they have done. And now they are truly at parity in terms of cameras, performance, screens, design, and even software. You can even get a lot of those same ecosystem tools that you might enjoy on iPhone on Android. Something as simple as copying and pasting from your iPhone to your iPad or to your Mac, you can now do on the Android side with a Chromebook or a Windows device. You can call and text and do everything that you do from your phone on your laptop, your desktop now. There's a lot of cohesion on both sides now, and they're really both ecosystems, especially if you have something like a Samsung device and a Samsung laptop and a Samsung tablet. That itself is its own ecosystem, and it really depends on which ecosystem you want to be a part of. I hope that this video has helped you on the fence of which way to go, Pixel or iPhone, and I'll continue to put out videos like this, and please let me know what types of videos you want to see in the future. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.